All the details in this video are true. They are part of my personal story. I lived with psychopaths for 40 years of my life without knowing it. I was used by them, manipulated by them. I was their shield. I was their emotional supply. No child asked to be born, but most children can count on the love of their families. I couldn't. And neither could millions of people around the world. We were not cared for. We were not cherished. But how can you know if the people you live with are predators? That awareness doesn't come easily. For me, it did not. When I was born, my parents had no home. We stayed at my grandparents' house in a tiny room at the back of the house. It was freezing in winter and unbearably hot in summer. The window was fragile, and the view just weeds growing in a very small backyard. My grandparents' house was always full of people. Their children, my uncles, came and went constantly. Some slept there, some came just to eat. I had 6 uncles, all busy with their own lives. Their minds were always elsewhere, always planning something. They were ambitious, worried, selfish, people consumed by their own goals, their own mental agendas. So the house was always full, and yet I was the only child, completely invisible. I was seen as an annoyance, a small being wandering around, sometimes asking for attention. They fed me, yes, but little more than that. My mother didn't work, yet she was always too busy to care for me. And everything becomes an excuse when love is absent, doesn't it? For those who don't want to be present, any excuse is good enough. Other people's lives, the gossip of the week, a new TV episode, a football match, other people's demands, the dramatic news of the day, anything just to escape. My first years of life were marked by total and absolute loneliness. And in my very first months of life, because no one rocked me to sleep, because no one stayed with me during naps, I was given a small green blanket. I held onto it the way a child holds onto a teddy bear. Someone called it Greenie, and that name never left my mind. Greenie was my companion during naps. Greenie was the mother who rocked me. Later, it became my imaginary friend, my most loyal companion, my confidant. In the absence of humans, I turned a blanket into my family. For years, throughout my entire childhood, Greenie was my greatest confidant. I would close my eyes and gently run my fingers along the soft fabric at the edges of the blanket. That sensation brought me immense mental relief. It helped me fall asleep. Today I understand what that was. It was a coping mechanism, a way to regulate my nervous system in the absence of parental figures. Because nervous system regulation in childhood is the foundation upon which our entire emotional and neurological architecture is built. A human child is not born with the ability to self-soothe. The nervous system is immature. Children regulate themselves through adults. There is a mirroring process. Adults are the models. If adults are stressed, the child's nervous system becomes activated. If adults are irritated, the child cries and panics. If a child is ignored, left alone, seen as a burden, the child enters survival mode. Without external regulation, the capacity for self-regulation becomes impaired, and this can lead to serious difficulties later in life. That green blanket gave me relief beyond words. With that object, I relaxed, I spoke, I cried. That simple object allowed me to develop and learn despite the emotional absence of caregivers. A child raised in constant stress can develop cognitive difficulties, not because of lack of intelligence, but because the nervous system is permanently trapped in survival mode, always alert, always unsafe, and still. I loved everyone around me deeply. I wanted to be with them. I wanted their attention. I wanted to be loved too. I just wanted to hug them, to play with them. But I was often told to be quiet. I had to stay still. I couldn't touch anything. And yet, I had no toys, no books, no stories, no rocking, no stimulation. My grandfather would often slap my hand when I pushed books backwards on his small bookshelf. He would count how many books I had moved. Then he would ask for my hand and strike it the same number of times. As time passed, our presence in my grandparents' house became more and more unwanted. Arguments between adults became constant. The noise, the shouting, the insults. I was terrified, even more than usual. The violent episodes grew closer together, with less and less time of apparent peace between them. Then my grandparents began demanding more money for our stay in that back room, and that's when everything exploded. One winter night, close to Christmas, my mother and my grandmother had a violent argument. Bitter words flew like bullets. Chairs were thrown through the air. Insults were exchanged on both sides. No one thought about protecting the child in the room. No one held back. No one protected the innocence of someone who couldn't possibly understand what was happening. No one had the maturity to choose conversation over conflict. Consumed by emotional chaos, the adults in my life attacked one another. And by doing so, they attacked me too. That night, my parents were thrown out onto the street, chased away like animals by their own parents. And at just 3 years old, I was also assaulted and thrown out by my own family. Those events, perhaps now forgotten or ridiculed by those adults, marked the rest of my life. Another lasting consequence of childhood abandonment and emotional absence is chronic low self-esteem in adulthood. In my case, I became extremely shy, terrified of rejection, and drawn toward emotionally unstable or non-reciprocal relationships, as if those early experiences had taught me a dark lesson, one that echoed throughout my life. So, my story does not end here. Much more happened. Very dark episodes, and I am not telling this story to shock you. I am not telling it to entertain you. I am telling it so others may become aware of their own reality, aware enough to grow and change. If you are a parent or a caregiver, please pay attention to the children around you. Practice daily acts of kindness, even if it feels small, even if it feels insignificant. It changes everything. If you know a child who may be at risk, please ask for help. You may be saving a life. And if you are an adult marked by emotional abandonment, I can help you change your life. If this message resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Share to raise awareness. Comment if you want to share your story as well. See you in the next chapter of my life. All my love, Artemisia.